Hello friends, welcome to Inside Cycle Initiative. As prelims is approaching very nearby, in today's video we would like to discuss about high yielding series related to polity. In this video, I would like to cover all the important articles related to fundamental rights in last 1 year. Okay, if you really like this, I'll continue this the part 2. In this part 1, so fundamental rights in news for last 1 year. Okay, of course there are few more fundamental rights are there, like right to abortion and right to same-sex marriage. That kind of rights are there regarding the fundamental rights. It depends on your interest. So in today's video, we are going to discuss about these following 6 fundamental rights which were in news in last 1 year. They are hate speech, MP/MLA's right to freedom of speech, right to sleep, right against adverse effect of climate change, forced conversion and adultery. The 6 topics we are going to cover in this video. Of course, this particular video is related to the subject of General Studies paper 2, that is Indian Polity, Governance, Constitution. First, topic number 1, that is hate speech. Supreme Court clarified that and directed to the police officers and authorities also that any person who is involved in the hate speech, they should be immediately arrested without any complaint. That means their action should be taken suo motu and the case should be registered on a suo motu manner. This is what the Supreme Court direction given. This was the judgment given by the 2-judge bench of the court. They clearly mentioned that there should be no hesitation to comply with the directions. In case if the police officials are not following these orders of the Supreme Court, that amounts to contempt of court. And tell me students, which article of the Indian Constitution deals with the contempt of court? Next, the major guidelines issued by the Supreme Court while giving the judgment, they are government should take suo motu action like we discussed earlier, and that action should be taken regardless of the religion of the speaker. Okay, whichever the religion the speaker may belong to, the action must be enforced. And court also warned that any hesitation, it amounts to contempt of court. And what is a hate speech? In fact, hate speech is not exactly defined in the Indian legal framework. The 267th report of the Law Commission of India, it is given a kind of a brief definition of the hate speech as hatred towards group of people based on race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religious belief. So the overall the hate speech covers, it includes any spoken language or in terms of signs, visible representation within the hearing and within the sites. So all these kind of various performances comes under the definition of hate speech. Okay, this is regarding the hate speech and Supreme Court observation. Next, topic number 2, that is Law Commission. And topic number 1, regarding the hate speech, what are the suggestions by various committees? Law Commission and like MP Bezubari Committee and TK Vishwanathan Committee and Law Commission, all of these committees suggested that there should be a dedicated provision for the hate speech. Now we are not having the dedicated provision, and now the hate speech is covered by various other provisions. It should not be like that. There must be dedicated provision should be there. That is what these committees suggested that. And the Committee for Reform in Criminal Laws, this is about the committee which is reviewing now the existing criminal law. This committee is going to suggest a proper solution regarding the hate speech. Topic number 2, MPs and MLAs right to freedom of speech. Here context, Supreme Court clearly mentioned that whatever the speech given by the MPs and MLAs, you cannot attribute that speech to the government and you cannot question the government. That means government is vicariously not liable whatever the speech given by the MLAs and MPs. That is what it is here. Supreme Court said that statements given by the ministers, MLAs, MPs, it cannot be attributed to the government. And no additional restrictions can be put on the freedom of speech because already there are certain restrictions on the freedom of speech. Now, if this is allowed, like if your comments are affecting the government means you should not speak in that way means obviously that is also the restriction. So Supreme Court already clarified that there are enough restrictions already there on Article 19(1) in the form of Article 19(2), and there are no additional restrictions are required. This case name is about the Kushal Kishore versus State of Uttar Pradesh. In this, the UP minister, the former UP minister, he termed the incident of a political conspiracy and nothing else regarding some of the UP incidents. Here, Supreme Court clarified that there are certain restrictions on the freedom of speech. So, quick revision. Freedom of speech can be restricted according to Article 19(2) on these grounds: sovereignty and integrity of India, security of the state, friendly relation with the foreign state. Nupu Sharma, she was suspended from the BJP on these grounds: public order, decency or morality or relation to contempt of court, and defamation or incitement to an office. Defamation, you know that Rahul Gandhi was convicted for 2 years. Of course, now it put under stay. And parliamentary privileges, you know that Article 105 deals with the parliamentary privileges. And guess that, students, whether the parliamentary privileges are applicable to president or not. Answer this. So parliamentary privileges are giving certain kind of freedom of speech and expression to the MPs. And this article is also saying that in the day-to-day affairs of the parliament, courts should not involve. That is what. Okay. Of course, parliamentary privileges can be collective privileges and individual privileges. Both kind of privileges are there. And the third one is right to sleep. Recently, Bombay High Court. So Bombay High Court mentioned that right to sleep and right to blink, it is a basic human requirement. It is a part of the life. It cannot be taken away. Actually, this case is this particular case. The context I will try to explain. One person was investigated by the enforcement directorate, and he was complaining that ED was investigating during the night time. It is not allowing him to sleep. That will affect his cognitive ability, so that he may confess the crime even though he did not. That is self-incrimination. So he filed a case, and Bombay High Court is saying that ED should not do like that. And if they would like to investigate, they can do the investigation during the daytime where his cognitive behavior is at the top. Okay, that is what the Bombay High Court mentioned. Okay, it should not be the night during where his cognitive abilities will be compromised. It should not be like that. Landmark judgments. Syed Maqsood Ali versus State of Madhya Pradesh 2001. In this case, Supreme Court mentioned that, Madhya Pradesh High Court mentioned that Article 21 includes right to life and right to decent environment, which includes right to have a peaceful sleep. Next, regarding the Ram Leela Maidan incident versus Home Secretary. In this case, Supreme Court ruled that sound sleep is associated with the sound health, which is a part of the right to life. So obviously, sound sleep also comes under the right to life under Article 21. Topic number 4, right against adverse effect of climate change. So regarding the climate change also, individuals can go to the Supreme Court and or High Court under the writ. They can get directions to protect the climate. Here, in a significant ruling, Supreme Court expanded the scope of Article 14 and Article 21 to include a right against the adverse effect of the climate change. This case is regarding the conservation efforts related to Great Indian Bustard. They filed a case regarding the conservation efforts of the Great Indian Bustard, and petitioners are claiming that because of the electricity lanes in Rajasthan and some other states where Great Indian Bustards are high in number, because of these electricity lines, these Great Indian Bustards are getting affected. So they have the right, the birds also have the right against this kind of adverse climate effects. So there must be an adequate mechanism should be there. That is what the petitioners are talking about. This case law is about MK Ranjit Sinha versus Union of India. Okay, so here, and the Great Indian Bustard is critically endangered bird which found generally only in Rajasthan and Gujarat. Protection of Great Indian Bustard and 2021 Supreme Court verdict. Supreme Court ordered that to protect the Great Indian Bustard and to prevent its trapping in the electricity lanes, there Supreme Court ordered that the transmission lines should be go underground. So, but here government is saying that here these transmission lines are coming from the renewable energy and they cannot go underground. And if so, the loss of energy will be a lot. And if the renewable energy is not encouraged, means obviously climate change will be there. So, as a part of the broader idea to encourage the renewable energy, we are making this transmission line, and we will try to protect the Great Indian Bustard as well, because protecting the climate change is also one of the fundamental rights. So that is the government view. And of course, Supreme Court also agreed partially with the government view, while suggesting that there must be some initiative put in place to protect the Great Indian Bustard. Next, topic number 5, forced conversions. Supreme Court. Supreme Court clearly mentioned that religious conversion by means of force, allurement and fraud, they ultimately affect the sovereignty of the nation and internal security of the nation. And it also ordered the government to take enough actions against this kind of forced conversions. Security of the nation will be compromised and the freedom of religion will be compromised and freedom of the conscience of the citizen also will be compromised due to the forced religious conversion. It directed the central as well as the respective state government to take enough action to prevent the forced conversions. Okay. Regarding this, some important landmark judgments regarding the forced conversions. In Lily Thomas versus Sarla Mudgal case, Supreme Court clarified that Hindu men, while having the living spouse who did not, who was not divorced, and having some other person as a spouse means it comes under bigamy, and bigamy is a crime. Okay, so in the Hindu religion, bigamy is not allowed. That means a person while having a living spouse without taking the divorce cannot marry another person. Section 494 and second marriage. Marriage solemnized according to Hindu marriage customs cannot be terminated by one spouse by converting into another religion. Like an husband who is Hindu married to Hindu women after getting married, if the husband converted into Islamic religion and giving talaq is not valid. Okay. Salamat Ansari Priyanka Karwar case. Right to choose a partner or live with a person of choice is a person's fundamental right to life and liberty as long as it is not violating the respective religion personal laws. Next, topic number 6, adultery. Parliamentary Committee on Home Affairs, they are suggesting that again adultery should be criminalized in the upcoming Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023 because adultery was decriminalized by the Supreme Court. Previously, Section 497 used to deal with adultery. Actually, why adultery was quashed by the Supreme Court? Because at that time the provision was more discriminatory in nature. There, with the consent of husband, another person can have adultery with the woman. That means that husband's wife. So here, that woman choice was not considered at all. So woman was completely on the disadvantaged position. Because of that only, that section was struck down by the Supreme Court. Adultery means engaging in sexual relationship with someone other than their own spouse while they are in the relation with the spouse. So this perception and legal consequence of adultery, it was examined thoroughly because this is going to affect on the culture as well as the legal systems also. Of course, in many systems, adultery is considered morally and socially unacceptable, even though legally is allowed. In some legal system, adultery may be grounds for divorce. This is what Supreme Court also mentioned. Until 2018, adultery was a crime. But because of the nature of Section 497 and it's a way discriminatory against women, because of that only Supreme Court struck down the Section 497. Regarding the Joseph Shine versus Union of India, in this five-judge bench of Supreme Court unanimously struck down the Section 497 of the IPC on the ground that it is discriminating the women and it is also violating one of the fundamental principles in the Indian Constitution, that is right to equality, Article 14. And adultery was decriminalized. So these are the top 6 topics related to fundamental rights in last 1 year. Okay, so give your feedback so that we can go with this kind of program till your prelims. Last time video question: which of the following best describes the role of returning officer in election? Returning officer is appointed by the ECI to oversee the electoral process in a particular constituency. That is right. Next, today's video question. Today's video question is: consider the following statement regarding the right to freedom of movement. The Article 19 of the Indian Constitution provides the freedom to move inside as well as outside of the country. Second, clause, it is available to citizens of India, foreigners and legal persons like companies. Which statement is right? As we reach to the end of this video, we do some quick revision. So this particular session is about the special session, that is the prelims high yielding series. In this we discussed about some of the fundamental rights in news as a part 1. As a part 1 we discussed about some 6 fundamental rights which were in news for last 1 year. I hope this video added some value to your preparation. Thanks for watching this video. Have a great day. Jai Hind.